Sal, and this is my dog Lily. She came across from Tasmania in early 2018, but we were really only just getting to know each other as I was in hospital in Melbourne until February 2020. 2 years and 3 months is a long time to be in hospital, far from my community and my friends. That's why I'm so glad to be home now. This is the story of how it happened and of all the many kind people who made it possible.
We'd raised our family in Druin, in West Gippsland, 90 minutes from the middle of Melbourne. It was 2007. Sal was living and working in Melbourne as a dental nurse. When she became very ill with a chest infection that became pneumonia, she came home and eventually she had to resign from work. She was admitted to hospital for the first of several times in that period. And after a few weeks of this, she was finding it very difficult to walk and even to talk. And so she was admitted to the first of several rehab facilities, and there was some success there. But at that stage, her condition was being treated as a severe post-viral condition. In the second half of 2013, Sal's condition deteriorated seriously and she was back in hospital in Melbourne. She came home for a bit, but at the beginning of 2014, she could still support herself on crutches. From February 2014 till December, she was in hospital in Melbourne and her condition really took a nosedive there. About halfway through the year, we realised that she was going to need an electric wheelchair and hospital bed, lots of changes to the home that we simply couldn't afford financially. And very kind friends stepped in to do for us what we couldn't do for ourselves and raise the funds necessary. And Julie Leishout and her son Julian came to our rescue quite literally and started a significant fundraising effort on our behalf.
I've known Sally for years and her family through the church, and I was visiting her at the Royal Park Rehab where she was telling me about her need for a custom-made wheelchair. We were wondering how we could raise money for that.
So I thought, what would I want if I was in Sally's shoes? So I came up with the idea of making loom bracelets. I sold them at school and at the church.
He ended up making hundreds, and he even had to rope in his cousin and auntie and a few friends to help make them as well. I was a little bit sceptical that they would make a lot of money, but the idea really snowballed, especially when a man at church got up and announced that people had to pay $100 a pop to buy one. We ended up having to make custom-made ones with beads and footy colours and all sorts of things that just really took off beyond our imagination. To be honest, I see it a lot like the story in the Bible of Jesus feeding the 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fishes, like seemingly impossible, but yeah, it was miraculous. Julian and I, our part in it was really just a kickstart. The rest of it was taken over by many, many other people, and I believe it has to have been of God's doing because we've never done anything like that before.
Once you brought Sal home at the end of 2014, life wasn't too bad. We had carers that used to come in and help 3 times a week, which was great, but Sal was always been such a determined person. We were still managing quite well on our own.
November the 1st of 2017 was a day where our world was just turned upside down. Jenny came into me and said, quick, go to Sal, and it turns out Sal was coughing up blood.
There was something different about this cough, and I was just about to leave the room and I turned around just to say something to Sal, and that's when the blood started coming up through her mouth, which was fairly distressing. So I made a quick call to 000, grabbed Steve and told him to continue to catch the blood, and yeah, it was a pretty horrific start to things.
She was taken to hospital, first to the local hospital and then to the Royal Melbourne Hospital, where it was diagnosed that she had a lung infection known as aspergilloma, and its effect was that it was eroding blood vessels and causing cavities in her lungs. This caused significant bleeding events such as we'd seen at home, and these continued in hospital. She had numerous embolisation procedures, and after the first of those, the doctors told us that they'd done as much as they could do. When she had another one of these, they told us to prepare for the worst. One of these bleeding events threatened her breathing significantly, and so a tracheostomy was installed permanently, and from that time on, Sal's never been able to speak. Late in 2017, she started to have seizures that went along with these bleeding events, which made them more complicated. Well, she got stable to a point, and after 3 months in the Royal Melbourne, she was transferred to the Austin Hospital in Heidelberg. That was supposed to be a transitional measure. We were expecting her to be home in the middle of 2018. But but of course her time in the Austin went out to about 2 years. Right from the outset, we didn't know what it was that we were up against. We knew that this wasn't going to be a short stay in hospital, but we had no idea that it was going to be as long as it was. Jenny and I agreed that Jenny should be with her, and so when the first crisis had passed, I went back to work and lived in Druin, so Jenny and I lived separately for that period of time. We wanted to bring her home, and of course that was a long process, but we realised if it was ever to come off, we'd need a nurse and a carer with her at all times. We needed also to modify our house further, and again, good friends in our community came to our help. This time it was Chris Hobbs and her daughter Emily.
We've known the family for many years, and before Sally got sick, we played lots of hockey together. We were on the same team. And then when she got sick, we continued the friendship. And from there, we continued to visit her in hospital probably
Many times.
Many times. It was usually every school holidays. So it was one day when we were down there that I was talking to Jenny, 18 months down the track of living in hospital. And it was taking a fair toll on the family. Steve and Jenny were separated most of the time. We started saying, what would it take to get the family back together again? And I just kind of said to her, well, maybe we could. Why couldn't we? Let's do it. And she said, do you think it could really happen? That's kind of where it started. We have such a generous community of people here, and I made some initial phone calls and shared their story and what I was thinking. And most people were like, yep, absolutely, love to help. And we raised over $70,000 for the renovation. We had people, tradies, older people, younger people, all getting involved and donating their time, their equipment, materials. There were just so many people involved. It was a real team effort, and it was a moment where you felt proud to be a part of this community. When the project was ready to begin, one of the first people I called was Beau Waterhouse. He'd been a long-term friend. He was someone who I could trust and rely on, and he'd also known the Messers for many years through Pakenham Baptist Church.
I was happy to get involved when Chris approached me because we have enormous respect for the Messer family, and I saw this as an opportunity to help. We put the call out at our church one Sunday morning for a working bee, and we were inundated with offers of help. Somewhere between 30 and 40 people turn up on a terrible wet Saturday. My wife came here regularly and did a lot too. It's been quite an achievement, and as you can see, it's working quite satisfactorily.
We were well underway with the project, and I remember Steve saying to me, Chris, what if we do all this work and the place is built and all these people have donated and Sal doesn't even make it? And I remember looking at him and saying, Steve, it doesn't matter, really. I mean, the purpose of us doing this is to give it a go, is to try and to do all that we can to get the family reunited.
So in early 2019, Jenny spoke to us again about a possibility of getting Sally home, but then the concerns were ambulance support or the medical support that she might need. We organised a meeting at the Austin Hospital to discuss what options we had locally for medical support.
When we went to that meeting at the Austin in early 2019, the staff there gave us copies of all of Sally's care plans that they'd put together. And the key thing with them was they all ended at call 000. So if we look at what's the ambulance going to do when we arrive and compare that to our current skill set, there wasn't really anything for our staff to do because of Sally's needs being quite so complex. So I set about writing a set of ambulance guidelines or protocols for Sally. Basically just supported her care the same as what she would get if she was in hospital. So we developed those in conjunction with her doctors at the VRSS and with our medical director. Took a couple of months back and forwards to get those done, but we're able to do that successfully and develop up a series of flow charts for our staff to follow, which we've printed up, and there's a copy of them here in Sally's room for the staff if they haven't got access to them, as well as provided some education to all the crews around the area who are likely to come here, and placed a location of interest flag on the address so that staff know that if they are coming here that they're probably coming to Sally and that they need to look at her care plan.
Once that was all in place, we were then able to take that back to the Austin, to the people that were looking after Sally, to reassure them that if they were happy with that care plan that was provided, that we saw no real barrier to getting her home and to at least trying to provide that sort of support as best we could.
Engagement from the local crews here in Druin, in particular through Joe, the team manager, and the staff there have all really got behind supporting Sal and her returning home, so that's been fantastic. I think most of them have been up here to see you, Sal, and get to know you, and quite a few of them have been to see you as a patient now. That investment in the community and their local patient that we just don't see all the time with ambulance, and certainly Sal's case is quite unique, and the guys have really risen to that to provide that support.
We've been able to provide some additional support to Jenny, just reassuring her with a few things as well. I think been able to help them here at the home, some of the issues that they face just with managing, we've been able to provide some additional training and suggestions and support to streamline some of the processes that they're required to manage some of the breathing issues that Sally might have when she has her bleeds, etc. So.
Having Lily home all the time now is great, as I love watching her running around the backyard and then having cuddles with her at night time. I can't thank our friends Tom and Lynn enough for looking after her while I was in hospital.
We heard that Lily was born and coming over from Tasmania. I wasn't sure whether we were going to be able to have Lily being looked after by Sally straight away.
And I said to Tom, it'd be really nice if Sally could see Lily sooner rather than later. And Tom agreed, which was nice. So we offered and they said yes please, which we were delighted with. She's just been such a delightful dog. But rather than just staying the 3 weeks we thought, we had her for nearly 2 years. We took lots of photos and sent Sally a photo nearly every day. And we were able to take her down to the hospital and visit Sally on the ward, and she's always been really good. And the hospital said provided she had a bath 24 hours beforehand, she could visit.
I will.
If the reality of ever getting Sally home was going to happen, I couldn't have thought of anyone better than my good friend here, Sandy Bryant. Sandy spent a lot of time with us before Sally took more seriously ill.
So it's been quite a journey getting Sal home. We started not really knowing exactly sort of what we were going to have to do to get it happening. We knew that she would need some nursing care and she would need an agency that would get behind the program, both nurses and carers. We started working on that. Lots of meetings, lots of getting to know various people from the Austin, the right ones that we needed to talk to, especially social worker Tasha, who helped us all the way with this process.
For the people that don't fit the box, and Sally is a prime example, it's about educating your team about what that means to be not fitting in that box. So it's about advocating and dotting those I's and crossing those T's and showing everyone this is what Sally needs and this is what it takes. Also, credit to you guys and you, Steve, for, going to your local member and getting that attention and explaining who Sally was and who you were as a family and how important that is, and making it more human and more relatable and more emotional.
I'm Laura. I'm lead support coordinator at Independence Australia. We met Sally. Sally was still in hospital then, the Austin. It took a lot of collaborating and teamwork, lots of people in the mix, both with the hospital, with NDIS and providers, and of course Sally's family, with Jenny and Steve driving a lot of it. Like we try to do with our team, we try to work together, and Alex and I managed to sort of step in and cross over pretty well. And
I've worked pretty closely with Jenny, working on liaising with a lot of suppliers and providers and getting a lot of the stuff first in preparation for when Sally was getting ready to go home, and making sure that all of the supplies that she'd need were available to her and her family and the nursing staff and support workers that were coming on board. And a lot of that involved sort of, explaining to medical suppliers that this was possible and that people were going to be supported by the NDIS and the health system to move home, and we just had to get everything together. And then still maintaining that once Sally's been home, working through sort of establishing a bit of a system to getting supplies and new providers on board to continue to assist Sally to work towards her goals and staying at home.
I think the important thing is we all had that main goal. We knew right from the start when we first met Sally, that was her goal, to get home. And we knew it was going to be a bit of work and a lot of planning, but, we were all determined to get there, and we did.
We did a lot of groundwork initially with a particular agency before they decided that the program was too complicated and pulled out. So I rang Marianne, who's our Coldbrow boss, asked her whether they would be able to take the program on. And we remember it well because she said yes. And then she came to meet with us and to see Sal, and it all sort of started from there.
I'm Jo, I'm the team manager at Druin Ambulance Branch. We were talking to Jenny lots, trying to plan our attack for how to get Sally home and what we needed to do. In February, we brought Sally home in the ambulance. Trish and I went down there. Most amazing day, huge coming home, very emotional leaving the hospital. We got home, we had an awesome time introducing Sally to her new house and all the renovations. It was so much fun. We had her in the wardrobe and everything. Since then, we've been tweaking things along the way to get the perfect setup that we can, constantly changing, reviewing, that sort of thing from an ambulance perspective. We've been back a couple of times since for different reasons. Nathan and I went down one day and brought her back after she'd had time in hospital again. She was quite sick with pneumonia. We brought her home via Tooradin and the ice cream shop, and we had the most amazing day. Lots of photos, lots of fun. It was a huge day. We've had a couple of pretty serious calls here, which has been touch and go and not too good. Fortunately, she's pulled through all of them. She is amazing. The things that she gets through, which I don't know how she does, and most people wouldn't. So she's just amazing. The association that we've had from an ambulance perspective to the Messer family is we are all family now. Everyone's always asking about Sally. We just drop around here for the heck of it, check in on the Lego, check in on the cards, check in on everything, check in on the family. It's just, it's an amazing setup, and we're very lucky to be associated with them.
My name's Nathan. My first introduction to Sal was in around February. I was acting team manager at Druin at the time, and we knew that Sally was coming home. Sally has some of the most complex cares required of someone that's living in the community. So we actually had a care plan written up, which was quite challenging for all our staff, but I think the main reason that worked was that we actually had 100% buy-in from all our staff. So we circulated some information and made sure everyone was up to date on specifically what Sally required. So without everyone getting on board with that, I don't think from an ambulance perspective we would have been able to make this happen. So we got a good bunch of people working with us. And for me, we've been here a fair few times and we've seen Sally probably at her worst when she's not doing so well, but most of the time, and being here today, I mean, looking at how happy she is, she's in a home environment, she's doing all the things that she loves doing, so that makes it all worth it. And this is Sally most of the time, and when it's not, we do our best to help out.
Part of the process then was obviously convincing funding bodies that we needed that nursing care for Sal. We had a lot of meetings and a lot of document writing, a lot of report writing. It wasn't until the agency, Department of Health, actually came to meet Sal and to see her and see her care that we actually were able to get anywhere. It needed a human face to the project that we were working on. So Sal's care is really complicated, but as a team, working together, obviously, lots and lots of meetings. Every week we would be planning and preparing and discussing, getting together a team to come here and be able to look after Sal. Training has been a big job, getting everybody on board. trying to find the right people to fit the program who are going to be able to look after Sal. And we've found some amazing nurses and amazing carers who are working together as a team. So it's been quite a journey.
Di, just tell us how you came to have a bit of a passion for ventilation and respiratory issues.
Well, I think it was when I first started working at Fairfield Hospital, and I met Greg, my husband, and he had polio, and when living at home he was on a ventilator and I looked after him. I just got very confident using them. We were married 20 years and Greg passed away. I needed to return to work, so I went back to the Austin Hospital. They were setting up a new organisation and it was called Ventilator Accommodation Support Service. People weren't actually in a hospital, they were in the community and they were all on ventilators. I went and worked with them for about 9 years. I decided to return to the Austin and learn a little bit more about the ventilators and the weaning of tracheostomies and things, because at VAS I was changing tracheostomies too. So when I went back to the Austin, I just wanted to see how they weaned people off. While I was working in the weaning unit, I met Sal. I really enjoyed looking after her. And we talked a lot about Sal moving from the hospital to home, until that one day he said to me, well, why don't you join the program? And I said, yes, I will.
Excited. This is Sal's beautiful bath. The hoist is wonderful. We just lower her down and she just has a lovely time relaxing and soaking in the bath. So this bathroom has brought a lot of happiness and joy. So it's a really beautiful space and we're very grateful for those who have helped provide this.
Absolutely spectacular job they did.
Part of the setup of this room also was creating a storage for Sally's stock as well as her wardrobe. Down this end here we've got her wheelchair and her favourite activities of the day, Lego and craft and her own clothing. But most importantly, part of our daily needs here are all stored here in this room. It's been an incredible journey. It's taken a lot of patience and endurance, and there was many very, very tough days with many, many tears. Sal was incredible through it all. I do remember one time when she was being taken off for an embolisation that she was wanting to communicate to me, this is before trachea, that she had a list of Christmas presents I needed to buy. We are completely distressed watching our daughter coughing up blood and off for an embolisation, and all she's thinking about is Christmas lists. And this has been Sal the whole time, setting up this whole room here, employing staff. All the behind scenes that we needed to do before we actually got here was immense. My first call to 000, pretty immense, because this is the first time we didn't have the red button on the back of the wall to be able to press and the Met team come down and assist us. But our team has taken on board every different aspect of Sal's care that she's thrown at us. It's been a huge learning curve for all of us, and I'm really proud of the team that we have here today. I couldn't do what I'm doing today without the staff of 5 West at the Austin, because they were amazing. Leaving 5 West, yes, that was huge. And previously, the day before, we'd actually had a really, really special farewell where many of the doctors and the nurses and cleaning staff, all the people that have been a part of Sal's life came and celebrated this incredible milestone of being able to leave. As you can imagine, Sal was pretty nervous, but we managed, didn't we? We managed. Now we're home. It's amazing and we feel as though we're family again.
I was here the first and I'm here the last day. All the best. I'm still number 1, yeah?
That is on video, yeah.
After 2 years and 3 months apart, it was a relief to all be back together again, Sally and Jenny, and of course we were joined by Lily. Now it's good, but it's not easy, and we do live on something of a knife edge, I'd have to say. I came home from Melbourne on the train one day and there were 3 ambulances in the drive. Another time I took Lily for a walk and I was taking her lead off and I was followed down the drive by 2 ambulances. But it's better than being in hospital, and our system is working. We've got a great team. Sally is very well looked after and extremely well provided for. The reason for making this video is, one, to say thank you to all the very, very many people who have helped us, but also we hope that perhaps it might inspire other people to do the same. It can be done. It'll take hard work. It won't be easy, but it's worth the effort of bringing loved ones home from hospital and having them cared for in much more congenial environment. We're Christians. We believe in the Lord Jesus. We believe that God has given us strength. We think that that's what's kept us going all this time. At a very early stage, I said to Sal, we need a motto, and we took as our motto words from Romans chapter 12 in the Bible's New Testament, and it says, rejoice in hope, be patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. So we've endeavoured to do that, and we know that lots of other people have been praying for us as well as supporting us in practical ways. No one would choose what we've been through. I certainly wouldn't have. But we've learned things along the way. We've experienced things that we wouldn't have in any other way. So my idea now, and I guess it's the same for all of us, is that you face up to the challenges that every day brings, but you do it with the strength that God gives.
I would like to say a big thank you to everyone who has been involved with making it possible for me to come home. I've just recently started doing story time for my nieces using my grid pad. I type up the story and then we video it so that I can send it to them. I can't see them much as one lives in the UK and the other lives in Melbourne. At least this way I can interact with them and they get to see me. Since being home, I've been able to enjoy time cooking with my carers for Mum and Dad. Sometimes my carers will join us, so it's a real family atmosphere, which is what we want it to feel like. They also help me make cards, and with my veggie garden and Lego. I really need to thank Mum and Dad for everything that they've done for me, as not only had my life turned upside down due to my health, but their lives were changed as well, seeing that Mum and I were in Melbourne and Dad was back home in Druin. Without their support and encouragement, I wouldn't be here at home with them. It has been a hard, long road, and at times I wondered if it was even going to be possible. But with so many people praying and supporting us, the dream of getting me home has come true. This is where I want to be close to my family and friends. But I also have to thank God, my Heavenly Father, as He has been with me this whole journey and brought me through some very scary times.